The White House couldn't wait until Friday to release this news, so they fired it off on Tuesday, right before Jerome Powell gets on stage and tells us whatever he has to tell us, and people calculate what the economy's going to do based off the color of his tie. So let's get into what the White House released on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. This is called the Dame Tax, making crypto miners pay for costs they impose on others. I'm going to warn you right now, there is some real top-tier nonsense in this. And considering this is coming from the highest office in the United States, boy, I really don't know where we're headed for the rest of this year. Here we go. One new proposal in this year's budget, the Digital Asset Mining Energy, DAME, excise tax, is an example of the president's commitment to addressing both long-standing national challenges as well as emerging risks. In this case, the economic and environmental costs of current practices for mining crypto assets, crypto mining for short. If you had any thought that Biden was writing any one of these words at all, then I don't know what to tell you. Biden isn't doing anything. This is coming from the office of the president, and they give it that presidential stamp. But Biden probably has absolutely nothing to do with this. I bet he doesn't even know what Bitcoin is. Currently, crypto mining firms do not have to pay for the full cost they impose on others in the form of local environmental pollution, higher energy prices, and the impacts of increased greenhouse gas emissions on the climate. This just, it's wrong. It is flat out incorrect on every level. Bitcoin mining, the process of mining itself, does not cause any environmental change at all. Just like this LED that's shining on my face doesn't do anything to the climate. The energy to turn on that light or to power a miner might cause some environmental change. But to say mining itself does harm to the climate proves that they have no idea what they're talking about. They're pulling at people's heartstrings. That's it. A large part of the problem with saying things online is that there is no cost to saying these things. And when you're at the highest seat of power, you can say whatever you want, and people, many people will believe you. When people get into positions of power, they abuse that power almost every single time. I've got to warn you, this next bit that I'm going to read here is irrefutable proof that the media, MSN, is in bed with government, and they are doing whatever they can to control what you think. Strap in, get ready, and don't have anything nearby that you could throw, because this might anger you to the point of chucking something through the window. Recent reporting by the New York Times highlighted the scale of the power consumption associated with 34 of the largest crypto mining operations, which they calculated as equal to the cost used by the surrounding 3 million homes. They're talking about this piece right here. Remember? The one with the altered photographs and, oh, you have to pay to read it? Just let that sink in. They're citing something that you have to go and pay to read in full if you want to read it. Do you see the problem here? And maybe you remember this part of that video that I did where Diaz-Batten goes over all of these overstated claims. That Riot is overstated by 82.5%. Rhodium is overstated by 89.9%. Overall, the emission levels are overstated by an average of 81.7%. This is what the White House is citing. They're citing a New York Times article that is already wrong, flat out lying to you, that you have to pay for to read. Just wrap your head around that. You have to pay for the lies that X is telling you, the New York Times, that the White House is then citing. Do you see the insanity here? Continuing. Crypto miners' high energy consumption has negative spillovers on the environment, quality of life, and electricity grids where these firms locate across the country. Once again, they're basing this on inaccurate information at best and lying to you at worst. And as every day passes, I'm leaning towards the latter. Yet, because crypto mining is geographically mobile and the stability of the business model remains unclear, local utilities also face financial risks if they invest in upgrading capacity that may not be needed if mining activity ceases or moves away. Yeah, that's called doing business. And the people that set up infrastructure and build out around different things know those risks when they're getting into it. if a brewery opens up and a restaurant opens up next door because they think, oh, great, we're going to get all this business because all these drunk people are going to come across the street because they're going to want something to eat, and then that brewery goes out of business, I would hope that the restaurant took that into consideration. And if they didn't, well, that's on them. That's not for the White House to say, well, we need to regulate breweries. Well, we need to make sure that the breweries are regulated so that businesses around the breweries can thrive. What? Alongside these known costs and risks, crypto mining does not generate the local and national economic benefits typically associated with businesses using similar amounts of electricity. What the F are they even saying? Because this business over here generates a certain amount of money, and this business over here, which uses a comparable amount of electricity, generates this amount of business, then they should be doing about the same amount of business. That doesn't make any sense at all. That's like saying because a restaurant uses a whole bunch of food and a school uses a whole bunch of food, well, then the school, because they're feeding all these people and using a whole bunch of food, should surely be paying taxes on all that food that they use. I mean, this doesn't make any sense on any level, and it's coming from the highest office in the United States. Insanity. There is little evidence of benefits to local communities in the form of employment or economic opportunity. Once again, why is that any of the White House's business? It's not. Now, if you haven't chucked your drink across the room and shattered your mug, you might hear. Because this next bit, I honestly am, I am truly at a loss for words as to what to say to this. It is, I have to just read it. Although the potential for crypto mining to relocate abroad, such as to areas with dirtier energy production, is a concern, other countries are also increasingly moving to restrict crypto asset mining. Now, maybe you've already read ahead or you saw this elsewhere, but if you haven't and you're just listening to this, this next sentence is, in my mind, irrefutable proof that this administration wants to destroy this country. Buckle up. Here we go. China, that's right, China banned such activity completely in 2021, as have 8 other countries. 3 Canadian provinces also have announced or enacted crypto mining moratoriums. Similarly, some U.S. states and localities are now charging higher electricity prices for or restricting the activity. This paper, coming from the White House, just cited China as a role model, a reason for why they want to do this. They want to crack down on crypto anything because China. What do you even say to that? This would be like in World War II, the White House saying because Nazi Germany was doing something that we should look to their example. I'm not sure how the all-time high of Clown World reaches a new all-time high after this, but I'm sure it will. To ensure that crypto mining is not simply pushed from one local community to another. To ensure that, you're going to stop the free market from doing what it wants. You're gonna stop them from going to places like El Salvador and using volcano power. You're gonna stop Bhutan from mining. You're gonna stop places that want to mine this. You're gonna stop it just like China stopped it. Just like China stopped it. How's that going for them? A national policy is needed. Of course, the Dame tax is not a panacea. It is only one example of the administration's efforts to fight climate change, reduce energy prices, and increase access to electrified options for all Americans. Let me read that last little bit right there again, because, it's just proof on proof on proof that they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, or, and I'll give you that second option here in just a second, but let me read that final sentence again. Reduce energy prices and increase access to electrified options for all Americans. Okay, the second option is that they know exactly what they're doing and they want to stamp out better options for people. Because if there's one way that you can help poor people get out of poverty, it's giving them access to cheap energy. And what brings about cheap energy? The demand for cheap energy. The way that you get cheap energy is by incentivizing energy production. And what incentivizes energy production? Something that needs energy. Poor people don't need energy right away because they're too poor to need anything that needs energy. So you bring in the miners. They can start mining, thus find energy where it was maybe trapped, then provide that energy to the people that are going to pay for it. Oh, but Del, Hodl Sapien, how are they going to pay for that energy if they're so poor? Well, when you get the miners to show up and they find the energy, then the energy prices are going to be driven down, not up like the White House wants to claim. I only read about a third of this whole thing, but I read the highlights. And as you can see, the standout highlight of this whole thing is the White House of the United States of America pointing to China as a role model. If you thought that this administration or this government at large has your interests at heart, you are sorely mistaken. All they want to do is help their quintillionaire friends get more wealthy by taxing you, by forcing you to do what they want, and claiming it's for the environment, when in reality it's for whatever they want. They buy stocks right before the banks fail. They sell stocks right before the banks fail. They do all of this with insider knowledge, and nobody pays the price except you and me. And there is only one thing that I know that fixes this. Get some, hodl, and stay humble.